So 2020 was a disruptive year for all of us. The last time I stepped into the radio station at WBUR was March 13th of last year. This coming June 22nd, God willing, if I'm healthy, I'll be celebrating my 46th anniversary of being on the air on National Public Radio at WBUR. But that being said, I quickly learned that if I was going to continue to do programming, at least on the air, I would have to do it from my home. So I purchased all the equipment that I would need. If I flip this over here, you see the microphone that I use, and all my equipment is right in front of me. And you see my record collection, the vinyl, and then in another room in my office, I have all my CDs. So I'm able to basically program my music right from here. And I just stop by the station once a week and drop off an SD card, and they program it in the computer, and it goes on the air every Saturday night. But at the same time, thanks to my son, who's of the younger generation, I realized that I can go live on Facebook and YouTube. So since last March 22nd, I started broadcasting both on Facebook and YouTube Saturday and Sunday afternoons from 4 to 6. And what this did for me, Howard, is that allowed me to share some music, but also to bring in a new audience, a broader audience that included Latin America and some in Europe and other places here in the United States, and also to bring musicians on as guests because, sure enough, musicians have a lot of time in their hands, and therefore they were more accessible and willing to be on the air as guests. So I've had 105 programs, of which I've had guests just about every single Saturday and Sunday. And not only have we had musicians, we've had topics such as, Dr. Chris Washburn's latest book, Latin Jazz, The Other Jazz, where we had a roundtable discussion on 2 different sessions. I invited Bobby Sanabria, musician and educator who has a show on WBGO, Ray Vega, musician, educator who has a show in Vermont, Sammy Figueroa, who's also another musician and has a program on WKDN NDA in Miami, Arturo Gomez from Colorado, and we had a conversation for 2 hours about jazz and Latin jazz and the issues with regards to that. And I had other musicians and artists who have joined me to talk about a number of things. But most importantly, I think, piggybacking on the 2 conversations you just had, was I think we have found that if anything, 2020 for me and others has made us aware of is how important this ecosystem that we are part of has to be in place in order to support each other, both musicians, programmers, producers, those of us who do programming on radio, those who do programming with concerts and things of that nature. This ecosystem is broader than just a silo of musicians and music. It has to include people from the public sector, has to include people from philanthropy and the nonprofits, has to include people from the private sector to be of help so we can continue to sustain each other and start looking at what the paradigm might look like moving forward, because it's not going to be what it was in the past. And then last, what I would say to you is I think 2020, the disruptions were not just the pandemic, it was the issues having to do with social justice. And those issues then therefore in the forefront make it possible for us to really address what social justice looks like and what role music plays in this conversation. At the end of the day, my thinking is, and I hope some of you agree, is that musicians are angels, living angels amongst us, and it's through their music that we are able to live our lives in a way that takes care of all of those stress, all those challenges that we have been confronting. The musicians are the ones that bring us light. The musicians are the ones who have been given this talent and this gift that only they have been able to receive from God. And therefore, that gift has made it possible for us to sustain ourselves emotionally, physically, intellectually, spiritually through these last 12, 13, 14 months. And for that, we have to acknowledge the role that music and musicians play in our lives and therefore support them as being as important, if you will, as any other person who is providing any kind of quality of life for us, if not more important. And so I think these last 13 months have given us that opportunity to gather and really take a moment to reflect as to the role of music and musicians in our lives.